Hello, Fightful Faithful, and welcome to the second ever episode of the Sour Graps NXT post show on Fightful.com. I'm your host, Alex Pawlowski. Everything doesn't suck currently. We had a close call earlier today where everything, like across the board, was gonna suck, like globally, outside of wrestling. And I'm glad that didn't happen. But I'm not allowed to talk about that on this show. I'll talk about it later tonight on the Fightful Select Show. NXT is in a good place. They're building slow, and I am going to allow for that for a little while longer. They have a grace period. They're getting their feet under them. It's a brand new show. It's they say NXT Black and Gold. Well, now it's NXT Raven Skull. Like it's Skull Wing. I don't know what to call it. It's the Black Raven's wings and the skull. That's a thing. Like it's a new thing. We're gonna have to get used to it. As somebody said last week, it looks like they set up the shop in like a Halloween Spirit Halloween store. I think it's going a bit far, but yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the chat. It's good to see all of you. I'm going to get to some super chats. I missed a few last week. I'm really sorry. The reason is because I am old, and the font size that I'm looking at is super teeny weeny. So I have learned that if I hold down my control button on my keyboard and then do a little uppy on my mouse, all of a sudden the font gets bigger. So now I can read your stuff when you send it in, and I won't miss any. But yeah, please send in your super chats, and I will address them on air. I promise this time. Sorry to anybody I missed last week. Also, while you're at it, subscribe to Fightful Select. You get all of Sean Ross Sapp's news, of which there is a lot. Plus, you get 7 days a week of podcasts, including 2 of those days are my days. Tonight, after this is over, we're going to talk about Raw and what a dumpster fire that thing is. And then on Saturday, I talk about SmackDown, and it's less of a dumpster fire. It's like a very small waste paper basket that somebody dropped a match in. We'll see if it catches. We'll see if it goes up. But if it does, just like throw a little water on it, it'll be fine. That's the difference between Raw and SmackDown. Anyway, Ricardo Holt says, happy 420, y'all. Happy 420. He also says, Kushida's repackage. What say you, yay or nay? Well, it's tough to say so far. He was slipping around a lot, and I was worried for him. I'm not sure. Like it's a giant jarring thing to go back from, like, I'm cosplaying Marty McFly to this MMA thing with the taped feet. We'll see if it persists. He's got a big 6-man tag match next week. We'll see what he wears then. Let's see here. So I'll talk about some of these maybe a little later. So the Nerd Guru says, another fun show tonight. Happy NXT has found its way, aside from women's tag stuff. That 6-man tag next week has me salivating. Alex rules! I do rule. This feels like I'm part of the O'Doyle family from Billy Madison. Alex rules! It's weird to say that about yourself in the third person. But thank you, the Nerd Guru. Yes, NXT has kind of found itself. And that's good, and then women's tag stuff. This is a problem when you say, hey, we have women's tag belts and we have 2 teams. So they just have to fight each other until we have a title change. And then they face each other again until we have a title change. It's difficult. But yeah. Hey, everybody, get vaccinated if you can. I got my second shot earlier today. And it so far, that's me knocking on wood. Your boy is fine. Waiting for them side effects to kick in. Yeah, I'm happy to have gotten the old second shot and ready to, just make out with everybody. Mostly my wife, but she's not around. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's talk about NXT. Kyle O'Reilly comes out. Kyle O'Reilly has a new gimmick, I guess you could say. It is like if the biggest nerd at your middle school wished on a Zoltar machine to be a professional wrestler. And it was like, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be big. I'm going to be cool. I'm not like too big. Like, I don't want to be huge. I want to be like a regular sized person, but a really good wrestler. And I'm going to be so cool. And all the bullies are going to, like, they're going to so regret it because I'm going to wear a fedora, and sunglasses inside, and a jean jacket. I'm going to be so cool. And all of his monologue is basically delivered as that character. Like, he some of it was fairly cringy stuff, but if you look at it as this is what a 12-year-old would think was really cool, then it kind of works on a certain level. And he's like, I moved past Adam Cole and he's gone now. He stinks. He's a stinky guy. I got him. And then now who should I go after? Should I go after the workhorse title, the North American title with Johnny Gargano? And I was like, well, I suppose you could put it that way. Although, like, the NXT title has been held by some workhorses too, like not currently, but it has in the past. So that's good. But the North American title, I suppose, yeah, I suppose you could say it's the workhorse title. I just never, like, everyone go, the IC title is the workhorse title. Everyone says that. Like, traditionally, it's been looked at that way. So I guess that's because it's the mid-card title. It's by default, it's the workhorse title. Sure. Should I go after the workhorse title, or should I go after the NXT title? I got nothing but time. Whoa, time? Did I say time? That must mean I am referencing Karrion Kross. That's right. I'm coming after you, you big, dumb, bald goof. That's right. I called you a goof because I'm Cool Kyle. Everything he says, I'm telling you, if you look at it as like Screech from Saved by the Bell, like found a magical talisman that made him a professional wrestler, and he said, how would a cool guy talk? Then it's actually kind of funny. But you have to look at it that way. And I understand if you don't want to. But that's my key. Cameron Grimes comes out, and Cameron Grimes is friggin' awesome. Oh my God. And he's so good in this role. Like, God bless it. I don't know who came up with that, but it's perfect. Still riding this whole his GameStop stonks money, but now he's dabbling in NFTs. But he comes in and he's trying to butter up Kyle, and I love that Kyle goes along with it. And this really, again, what a nerdy kid in middle school would think was, I'm gonna be sarcastic and I'm gonna get him. Watch me get him. I'm gonna get him. And Cameron Grimes is just dumb enough to get got by the obvious sarcasm. Yeah, I thought that was really. Let's be business partners. We're both gonna go to the moon. I thought it was all really, really great. I mean, I especially love the who am I gonna fight? Now I want to fight. I'm cleared to wrestle now, he says. I'm looking for a fight. Not you, obviously. We're business partners. But who should I fight? And he starts looking around the audience. And then Cameron Grimes is like, you want to fight him? Here, he's right here. He wants to fight. He's looking for a fight. You want to fight him? And then he puts his sunglasses back on. And he's like, oh, I am going to fight you. And he punches him. And so that match gets made for the main event. So that's fun. Right? This is fun. I don't know exactly if Screech from Saved by the Bell wished on a Zoltar machine to become a professional wrestler. If that's a gimmick that can carry us into the future, but we'll have to see, because apparently they're running with it for a while. Let's see. Wallace sends in a super chat, says Sprecher funds for spectacular SmackDown / sorry budget cuts, Sour Graps. Yes. Thank you very much. It's true. Sprecher root beer is the very best root beer. Yeah, I did a very long rant about the budget cuts that led to the release of a dozen wrestlers or whatever. It was about an hour long. People seem to like it. Subscribe to Fightful Select if you don't already, and you can get me yelling about why they shouldn't have released everybody, and then what I would have done with them to get them over. People seem to like it. So thank you, Wallace. What happened next? Sarray arrives at the Performance Center, and Zoe Stark comes up and gets in between her and Regal and says, "Hey, big fan of yours, Sarray. Regal, could I have the first match?" And he's like, "Well, actually, that's what I was thinking already, but yes, of course you may." That's my Regal impression. I'm going to be doing that every Tuesday. It's not necessarily very accurate, but it is something that I'm going to be doing. Injection 2K says, "I'm that nerd, Alex. I'm going to make WWE cool again." I'll take your word for it. We'll see. Yeah. So yes, here's the deal. Sarray's here. I'm happy that she's here. I'm married with a kid, and I'm the sole. I'm like the primary caregiver for the 4-year-old. So I'm with her all day, and I don't get to watch as much Joshi wrestling as I'd like. So it might come to surprise that I'm not intimately familiar with Sarray's oeuvre. But I know enough to know that she's great. And I also am a huge fan of Zoe Stark and what they've been doing with her. So partially conflicted about them saying, let's have Zoe Stark versus Sarray, because I don't think you're definitely not going to have Sarray lose in her first match, I don't think. And Zoe Stark last week appeared to be like primed to be like moving up toward Raquel, but like maybe Mercedes is in the way. That she's also got Toni Storm waiting around behind. Like there are lots of different branching pathways. A lot of WWE story booking is basically a choose your own adventure book. Remember those when you were a kid where like get to a certain page and like, would you like to, you're hiking in the woods and you see a bear. Do you throw a rock at its head or climb a tree? You know, and if you want to throw a rock at his head, go to page 42. But if you want to climb a tree, go to page 56. It's a lot of like that, but with fewer rocks being thrown at bears. A lot of branching pathways that can get us to different places. Currently, I have faith in them to get us to the right places. We'll see where I'm at in a month, but there's a lot of different cool things that could be done. So I was apprehensive when I heard Zoe Stark was going after Sarray at the beginning, but by the end, I'm into it. So Sarray seems honored to have Zoe Stark want to face her, so she says yes. The match is booked. LA Knight cuts because of backstage promo in the hallway. There's gonna be a lot of these hallway promos, I feel like, because it's just like that's pretty much the backstage at the Capitol Wrestling Center. It's just a hallway. So that we saw the hallway a lot in tonight's episode. Yeah, I'm really I'm really into it. LA Knight is such a good promo. So there are two ceilings for him in WWE on the main roster. One, he goes up and Vince falls in love with him and lets him cut promos all the time. And he's going to be, because he's a big dude, 240. It's a perfect size. He's got a good build, could cut a great promo, natural heel. Vince either falls in love with him or gives him a mute gimmick, and we never hear from him again. But he had a match tonight with Loomis. And the match is fine. And then Indy Hartwell, I say fine, like there's like, I'm very rarely I'm going to be like, well, they botched this move, although they did botch the finish, and I'm going to talk about that. But like, if you botch the finish, I'm going to talk about it. If like, oh, their timing was off, I'm very rarely going to like delve into that kind of stuff. So the match is fine. It's inoffensive. There's some good stuff and some bad stuff. I did appreciate the moment where LA Knight is creeped out by Loomis and like on his hands and knees backs away from him until he backs his balls into the ring post. I thought that was a cute spot. Not as cute as the meet cute between Indy and Dexter when they meet through the chain link pipe plexiglass. And then they do like the little like palms up against each other thing. So Dexter gets distracted, and then LA Knight tries to hit on Indy, and he gets distracted. And then Dexter gets distracted again, and then LA Knight. What's LA Knight's finisher? Have we seen it? Do we know what it is? Is it a cutter? Is it a neck breaker? Is it like a headlock driver? Whatever it was, whatever it is, it seems like he was trying to do it to Dexter Loomis through the ropes, and that did not work. So he like just kind of yanked on his head, and it knocked out Loomis entirely. I'm going to choose to believe in my head canon that Dexter Loomis was knocked out by Cupid's arrow. Because he gets to make eyes at Indy Hartwell after the match as well. LA Knight gets to win, so good for LA Knight. He gets to move on from this like feud. Yeah, LA Knight said he had the Gavorka. Anybody? Is that a thing I'm supposed to know what that is? Is LA Knight like? Did I miss that? It's very possible that I'm just not hip to everybody. He did say, like, why would you be going after this guy when you got LA Knight here? Look at the Kavorka on LA Knight. I don't know. Yeah, I'm being told it's a snapmare driver. Well, that wasn't what happened. Yeah, they're trying to get it done. Wallace also sent in choose your own adventure book. Appreciate super chat. My favorite book series is an 80s kid. My God, man, that was the stuff. Those were so good. There was a lot of like really good like time travel ones. Like you wind up, I fell into a cave and now I'm in medieval England. I'm a knight now. Should I joust or sword fight this guy? There was a lot of that great stuff. Choose your own adventure. Bring those back. Yeah, Kavorka is a Seinfeld reference about, thank you very much. Valab, thank you. Seinfeld, Kavorka is supposed to mean the lure of the animal. I knew I'd heard that term before, but it had been like, I don't know, 25 years. Because I don't think I've seen that episode since it first aired. But Valab, thank you. So if you got the Kavorka, you're a real player. Okay, so he's got the Kavorka. Sure, LA Knight's got the Kavorka. In canon, he's got the Kavorka. Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna catch up on some super chats here before we move on. Okay. Matthew Makowski says, Dakota and Raquel are giving me massive Sasha and Bailey vibes throughout the summer. I couldn't see this being any different. Dakota dethroning Raquel in the next year or so is the way to go. Agree? No. And I'll talk about that when we get to their backstage segment. I will talk about that. I do not think that is the way, at least that is a way they could go. Don't think it's the way they're going to go. That's just me. And BL Sab 88 says, I don't know much about Sarray, but she always looks like another great addition to the women's division. Yeah, she does. She's great. And we'll see what they do with her. The thing about it is that when they say it's the greatest women's division in the world, it is. Because there are no Dana Brooks. Sorry, Dana Brooke. And they haven't yet. If they had a Dana Brooke, they'd book her better. You know, like there's not like in across the women's division of the ones who actually get real time. I'm not talking about Aaliyah. Sorry, Aaliyah. And Indy Hartwell, though rapidly improving, is doing a lot of stuff outside the ring to help her overall score. But like, there's not a woman like below like a 7 all around score that they have. Like if like what's like on the 2K thing. I haven't played those games in a while because they've sucked recently. But like, what's a decent score? Like an 80? Like they're all 80s or above. Some of them are like 90s. But they're all really, really good. Like if you got a bunch of them that are great, you don't need to have 4 of them that are the best ever. Like on the main roster. You just have to have a bunch of them that are great, and it all evens out. What's next? What did I miss? JK Schwal 03 says, Sour Graps on one TV, Brewers game on the other, can't complain. Yeah. Give me score updates. If I see him in the chat, I'll respond to them. You don't have to super chat him, but I might not see him. So yeah. Solid NXT, says Los Dino. Kyle worked better for me when he was goofing around with Grimes. Yes. Again, he does the I'm cool, but like sometimes like when you're like, I'm cool, this is how a cool guy would talk. If you're out there by yourself and like you don't know what to do with your hands, like, you know, like I don't know, what am I guess I'm supposed to be cool. It's a lot better when you have somebody to play off of. There are a lot of really great actors that I've worked with in the past, who are really great when they get somebody to play off of. But if they have to stand out there and like give a monologue by themselves, not as great. And I feel like Kyle O'Reilly plays well off of others. So I'm even dextering the Dig and Indy Romeo and Juliet storyline. Well, let's not go that far. Romeo and Juliet, I don't want to see either of these people dead. That's not good. By the way, thing they never actually talk about, and they should, in that Juliet, 13 years old in that story. 13 years old. So she's the right age for some of the people in NXT. What am I saying? I didn't say that. I didn't say, I would never. I'm sorry. Kyle O'Reilly was out there looking like Orange Cassidy's illegitimate brother, says Stiller Justin Lopez. I understood that reference. That's good. I like that. And the Nerd Guru says, sent this last night on the Raw review. You're one of my fave quotes in Graps history. You don't get to say, sorry, kid, budget cuts to Samoa effing Joe. It's true. You don't get to say, sorry, kid, budget cuts to Samoa effing Joe. You just don't. So, and before I move on, Michael Bunch says, I'll be here every week for that Regal impression. I also have a really great, it's a very limited fake Finn Balor. It's from that vaccination commercial. It's not a good one. I could do one thing that he says, and it's from that vaccination commercial they do. Let's all do our part and get vaccinated. All I can say is vaccinated. I can only say it. I can only say that one word like Finn Balor, but I think I nailed it. Vaccinated. Actually, do your part and get vaccinated. You should. Okay, what happened next? let's get through the rest of this. So yeah, she and Loomis are staring at each other, about to kiss each other, and fans are chanting "kiss." And then Johnny Gargano and company come and they pull Hartwell off the apron, and Austin Theory carries Hartwell away, and blah blah blah. Leon Ruff is cutting a promo on Swerve Scott. It's a decent promo, good for Leon Ruff. I'm assuming we get this match next week. It hasn't been announced yet. They announced 2 other matches. Maybe we'll get it 2 weeks from now. Whatever. There's a lot of people to get on TV. I'm totally fine with let's slow play this Leon Ruff eventually getting murdered by Swerve Scott angle. Because I feel like that's where they're going. Io Shirai gets interviewed by Beth Phoenix. I appreciate that they let her speak in her second language, and she speaks English very well. It's obviously very heavily accented, but that's fine. I don't mind that. I think that what she says is that they do the thing that they have to do. It's let's look back. Let's do a video recap of that. So they show her winning the title, and then they show her losing the title, and she says that hurt about the power bomb that she got on the floor, which yeah. I agree, probably did. And then she says that she's gonna rest now. She defended her title for 300 days. Her body needs a rest. And that's when Frankie Monet shows up, which, by the way, if you're one of those people who, as I was, is Taya Valkyrie's such a better name. Frankie Monet, boo, we don't like that name. That name sucks. Well, she replied to somebody on Twitter who's I just can't believe they gave you that stupid name. That name is bad. It's a bad name. Frankie Monet is a bad name. And on Twitter, she was like, thanks, I picked it out. So I think if Taya picked out the name Frankie Monet, we're going to have to trust her on this. She likes it. She picked it out. She chose it. It's not as good as Taya Valkyrie. I think she would tell you that herself. But it's going to grow on me because I think the character works. So she shows up with her dog. We still don't know what the dog's name is. I want to know what the dog's name is. And Io says, I like cats. And Frankie says she's a big fan of Io Shirai. Been a big fan of Beth since she was a kid. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but if you're going to take some time off, I'll fill in for you. And Shirai curses at her, I'm sure, in Japanese. And Frankie's like, I don't understand. Yeah, I like cats, she says. She's like, well, somebody's having a bad day. Breezango is out. I know they're out there dressed as Buckingham Palace guards. And I know that they're making fun of the Grizzled Young Vets because they're also from England, but they're working class dudes from Liverpool. I don't think they have a lot of love for the royals. But speaking of royals, it's just so funny. It was no, we're not making fun of Prince Philip being dead. We're making fun of the Grizzled Young Vets. It's fine. Listen, you can make fun of Prince Philip being dead for all I care. I think it was funny. I didn't until I realized who they were facing. I was like, well, that's a weird thing to make fun of. But yeah, I love Breezango. I won't. Yeah. Breezango and GYV It's a good match. It's on the card to get GYV over as a potential eventual champion, beating MSK eventually. I say eventually because MSK is going to be tied up with other things by the end of the night. And that's what I'm saying. They're keeping everybody fresh in our minds so that when one path ends, there's somebody else who can move in. I don't want to talk about Raw because Raw sucks, but on Raw, they're simultaneously building up one tag team while tearing the legs out from under another. They had the Viking Raiders beat Seti and Shelton 2 weeks in a row. And instead of doing that, find somebody, I don't care who, for each team to beat. One team, Seti and Shelton beat them 1 week, and that same team gets beaten by the Viking Raiders the next week. Then they do a beat the clock challenge, and then they do something else. And like you can build up each team so that when they eventually clash, it means something. So you're building up GYV so that when they eventually face MSK, it'll mean more. It'll be a bigger deal because they're beating. You're also at the same time building Imperium. They have a match later. The MSK is currently involved in something revolving around, the Legado de Fantasma. So all the tag teams are being built. Well, not Everrise and not Breezango, but Breezango is bulletproof. You can build everybody up so that when they eventually clash, it means something as opposed to tearing them all down and then we don't care if we see them on TV or not. See how that works? That's that basic thing that they're doing with 3 different tag teams, 4 really when you count the champs, on NXT, gives me faith that they know what they're doing. Yeah. I reserve the right to take all this back in like a month. So there's Drake comes off the top and twists his knee, and the referee checks on him. And Gibson and Fandango come out behind the ref. The ref's like, hey, give him some space. And while the ref's got his back turned, Gibson gives a thumb to the eye of Fandango, and then gives a thumbs up to Drake, who gets up, and miraculously his knee is healed. So that's some good old healing work. Eventually, the hot tag is made to Breeze, but Fandango is half blind. Must have had a match with Seth Rollins. Anywho, he is out for the rest of the match, and you go from Tyler Breeze having a hell of a hot tag to basically being in a handicap match, which he loses. And it was a pretty cool way to build that. Yeah. I appreciate the way that, like, once Fandango tagged out, he was not coming back in. He was hurt. He couldn't see. And that's a good way to build up that little injury that they don't know if they're actually going to do anything with it, but who knows? I appreciate, I love the Ticket to Mayhem too as a finisher. It's a great tag finisher. I appreciate that. I said this when they actually made them champions, and then when they took the titles off of them. Breezango being NXT champions, even for the 12 minutes they were champions, allows you to be able to always say, well, the Grizzled Young Vets beat the former champions, as opposed to Grizzled Young Vets beat Breezango, who were booked so poorly on the main roster they had to come to NXT. It seems better when you say it the first way. So Mackenzie Mitchell backstage with The Way. There was a backstage segment, 3 minutes long, between Mackenzie Mitchell, the interviewer backstage, who's much better than they give her credit for, than they allow her to be, because of this segment. She interviewed the entire way with Gargano there. Remember last week that ended with Bronson Reed coming off the top rope and squishing Austin Theory. Well, Austin Theory was selling like broken ribs during this big group interview. And occasionally he would just tap Gargano on the shoulder Indy Hartwell got carried off last week, right? And Candice LeRae is on the phone calling the cops, reporting a missing person, walking back and forth in the foreground, right in front of the camera. And every time she'd pass, Johnny Gargano would like yell something at her that was just off the cuff and funny while he's trying to give an interview with Mackenzie Mitchell. And the whole time, every now and then, Austin Theory, who by all accounts is not a nice guy, but is knocking this role out of the park. He's making me, it's very conflicted. I'm very conflicted. So I'm going to give him praise about something, but that does not mean I like him as a whole. Okay. He has a voice that he does for his I broke my ribs character. And the voice is, the voice is, it sounds like an impression of Macho Man Savage. I'm hurting. Ooh, Johnny, my ribs are hurting, Johnny. Ooh, Johnny, my ribs are hurting. And it's really funny. And that's what they did last week. Again, you can only find that on Twitter and stuff like that. A lot of the best backstage stuff on the main roster and on NXT all happens, and they bury it on their social media feed, but they put it on TV. It's so good. But then Indy shows up and she's like, hi, I'm fine. Like, where have you been? Oh, I was with Dexter. It's fine. So they have like a mini version of that interviewing this week. And then, Indy's like, she talks about how she's in love with Dexter or something. And then Bronson Reed shows up and says, I want another shot at that belt, Johnny. He's like, well, too bad you lost takeovers to get to the back of the line. Well, maybe I'll just rip your head off, he says, which is not how we solve problems, Bronson. And then Austin Theory says, well, you can't rip your head off because I talked to Mr. Regal. Mr. Regal says, in order for you to ever have a shot at that championship again, you got to go through me. And Johnny Gargano's like, this is a terrible idea, which I think is great. He goes from like, yeah, that's right, my boy's sticking up for me, to, oh, no, why did you pick that stipulation? I don't like that. I thought that was all funny. So yeah, we'll see more. We'll see more of them throughout much of it. All right, I missed a few of these things. Yes, somebody says to me, Evan Wright, NXT women's tag titles was a mistake, Alex. Like, yes, it was grave and catastrophic error. And I don't know how you fix it now. They should not have done it. It's bad. But I don't know what you do other than make new tag teams, which you can do. Like, they had an opportunity tonight to, like, maybe they're going to make one. Maybe the next tag champions in NXT became respectful friends tonight. Perhaps that's the thing that happened. We'll have to wait and see. It was a terrible thing, and they should never have done it. But now they have to figure out a way to get through it. Yeah. I believe there was another reference to the Kavorka. Yes, that Kramer made the nun thirsty. I would love that. Let's get an LA Knight story going where he makes a nun thirsty. LA Knight and nun. Let's do it. Don't actually. Chris Raines says NXT Sour Graps alone is well worth the Fightful Select subscription. Thank you, Chris. I get told that a lot, and it's really weird because I don't have an audience here. I'm just talking at my camera, and people seem to like it. And I appreciate all the love. Yes. Frank Aguilera says, doing head numbers. That's my SRS voice. Keep it up. Thank you. I intend to. And Matt and Caleb Graham says, Sour Graps is my favorite overall podcast and select. Thank you guys so much for all of these things. I have to this is not me. I don't like tooting my own horn. That's not what I like to do. But if you put money down to say something like this, I have to read it. That's the rule. I mean, Don't turn me into Ron Burgundy. If you have me read some things that I'm not supposed to say, I'm not going to say them. Okay. In Injection 2K size, I'm going to need a Morrison Monet team up ASAP. Well, John Morrison wasn't on Raw last night, so maybe that would be good. Okay. So, we get Sarray versus Zoe Stark, right? Before that, we get an amazing spot with somebody in the notes I'm looking at was meant to write Cameron Grimes and wrote Cameroon Grimes, as in the African nation. And I think that's very funny. I think perhaps Cameroon Grimes would have a great feud with AJ. AJ. Damn it, I ruined my bit. I ruined the joke. Cameroon Grimes would have a great feud with Apollo Crews, who's from Nigeria. That wasn't a good joke. I'm sorry. He's backstage with Mackenzie, and he's very angry about Kyle O'Reilly punching him. I'm gonna put him back. I'm put him back in the hospital. Look, I've got this manila envelope happens to be with me, telling me about how I bid on an NFT, which I still don't know what the hell. It's non-fungible something. Tater tots? I don't know what the fuck the T is. Non-fungible. Don't tell me in the chat. I'm not going to read it. Yes. So it's like you own a GIF. They sold a couple of them from the Undertaker throwing Mankind off the top of the Hell in a Cell. They had as a GIF of it that sold for $300,000 over WrestleMania. $300,000 for a GIF. Sorry, kid. Budget cuts. I've this company. So he's got a paper that's come from the people that he bought the NFT from. They're like, hey, here's a picture of it. Thanks for winning the auction, but a much bigger amount of money came in after the auction, so we had no choice but to sell to that person. And I just like to say that's not how auctions work. Once the auction is done, you don't get to do that. That's against the rules. So Cameron Grimes, who is the heel, is very right to be upset about this. He's very right to not be happy about it. The winner of the bid, actually, the illegal bid is Ted DiBiase, and so Grimes just goes DiBiase and shaking with rage. He storms off screen, and apparently we're going to get an honest to God real feud on NXT between Cameron Grimes, the $1 Million Man. I think it is so funny. The $1 Million Man's big time heyday was what, 35 years ago? Between 30 and 35 years ago. And the $1 Million Man would be like, like Dr. Evil going $1 million. Like what? What's a million? What's a million? What that Jeff Bezos makes that when he takes a crap. Like $1 million? That's nothing. They should change it to the $1 billion man, Ted DiBiase. I hope they do. So Stark versus Sarray is great. It's a great match. It says a lot. They're like, hey, this is this person we're putting over as one of the best in the world. It's her debut match. Very few people stateside know who she is. We want her to look impressive. Zoe Stark, we are trusting you to go out there and make her look great. There are a lot of veterans they have in WWE, in NXT, that they could have used to go out there and do that. You could have had Ember Moon go out there and face her. If you're going to do a respect thing, you know what I mean? You could have had that. You could have had Dakota Kai. Well, that's heel versus face. You could have done that. Dakota Kai's been there forever. But they said, no, we want Zoe Stark to do it, which is partly because they trust Zoe Stark and partly because they got an angle lined up. it's a great match. And I'm really excited for this. This is them holding back what Sarray can do because it's her first match. Like they're not going to do everything with it. I love Zoe Stark so much. And I'm only okay with her losing this match because again, they have something set up for her. During the point, she hits an amazing half and half suplex. It was just so good. Followed by a sliding knee, and Sarray has great suplexes of her own. And she wins with it like a modified Saito suplex, just drops Zoe on her head. It's some really good stuff. Sarray wins and then immediately helps Stark to her feet, and they have a big hug. And Stark is like, well, this is your moment. I'll see myself out. And then Toni Storm attacks, which is going back to Zoe Stark beating her at TakeOver. And I thought after that match that was going to become the beginning of a Toni Storm and Zoe Stark feud. But then they had that thing last week with Zoe where she didn't mention it at all. But anyway, she attacks Zoe, beats her down, and Sarray kind of like saves her is the wrong word. She checks on Stark, and so it looks like we might be getting like a Sarray and Zoe Stark team up, and that's what I'm talking about when I say that we may have just seen the next tag champs fight each other tonight and become best friends. Did we just become best friends? Yup. That's the GIF. Sure. I like the idea of Sarray and Zoe Stark. I almost said Tony Stark, which is going to be not going to be the last time I do that. So Iron Man, Iron Man's going to fight Toni Storm, Sue Storm, Storm, Aurora Monroe. I think that Toni Storm needs a little something to give her a goose. She can be great. I think that she can be great, but I don't know. I don't want to read anything. Maybe she needs a little bit extra motivation. Like if she's not in the top program and thinks she's got a chance to become champion, maybe she's not going all the way. I don't know. I think she's very talented. I think that I liked her match versus Zoe at TakeOver Stand, and I thought that I think she could have a very good match with Sarray. I think it's fine. She needs a partner now to have tag matches, but so Mackenzie's backstage talking to Dakota Kai and Nix and Raquel, and she was like, "Hey, you saw the interview with Io Shirai. What do you got to say for yourself?" And Raquel's like, "She's a great champion. I'm gonna be better." And then Kai says she's gonna be the mouthpiece. Like, what are you? I'll take it from here. Mercedes Martinez says Dakota Kai, she wants a piece. Well, she doesn't get one because that's what we said. So, bye. This interview's over. Gonzalez says, anybody can come and step up to me. I'll knock them all down. Fine. So Candice and Indy are walking around backstage. I don't know where they were going. LeRae has a plan. I guess they were going to go like what? Just talk mean to Ember and Shotzi, because on the way there, Indy gets distracted because she sees Dexter through a window. So she stops and like gazes longingly through the window at him, like an interior window. There's like an office, and there's like a window between like the common area and the office, and she looks at him. So it's not like he's like outside in the rain or something. That would be very romantic. They should do that. So she, by herself, not realizing Indy has left her side, goes to confront them as they're coming out of the ladies' room, I guess. I don't know. And maybe it's the kitchen. I'm not really sure. It had one of those doors without a lock on it or a handle. So like a little pushy, swingy. And Ember comes out. She's got a cup of something. It's water. It looks like a coffee cup, disposable one. And Candice is like, so that's right. And you're not allowed to. I want the titles back. And Shotzi realizes that Indy's not there. It's like, Indy, what do you have to say about it? And then Candice turns around, realizes Indy isn't there. And she could be like, she could just go and get her friend Indy, but she doesn't. She knocks the cup of water out of Ember's hand. That could have been really hot coffee, Candice. You could have burned Ember. If there's one thing we can't have, it's embers burning. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long day. Anyway, and so yes, Ricardo Holt says Ember and Shotzi snatching up Candice was awesome. They take her into the kitchen bathroom. I don't know what the hell it was. And then later, when we see Johnny lecturing Austin about why you shouldn't make matches for yourself with people who have recently broken a bunch of your ribs, where the consequences of you losing a match to that person is that I have to face that person in a match for my title. You should not do that, Austin. And then Indy shows up, and then Candice shows up, and she's disheveled. And then Indy shows up, and she's like, "Hey, it's cool. I saw Dexter. Also, I saw Mr. Regal, and he's giving us a tag title match for no reason." She doesn't say the no reason part. That's my editorializing, but for no reason, we get a tag title match. We lost our tag title match at TakeOver, just as Bronson Reed lost his North American Championship match at TakeOver. And Bronson Reed, according to you, Johnny, has to go to the back of the line. But apparently that rule doesn't apply to me and you, Candice. Isn't that great? Hooray for only having 2 tag teams in the division. Which, again, is why you shouldn't have made the tag belts in the first place. Just take the women's tag titles and put them on NXT for like 4 months. And then they can go back to the main roster and you can lose track of them, or you can have the people who hold them lose a bunch of singles matches. Michael Redding, I'm not supposed to do this, but should have made a women's mid-card belt instead. Agreed. Candice says great comedic timing, and the way is great. They are. I 1/4 of them is not somebody that I am enthused about at all, and yet he, like the rest of them, is killing it in this role. So don't worry, it'll all make sense after TakeOver Backlash, right? Funny. J.K. Schwal says, who would you team with Tony against Sarray and Starks? They desperately need to create more than 2 tag teams. 5-0 Brewers, by the way. Thank you, Jake Schwal. Or J.K. Schwal. I don't know, Mercedes, but she's doing stuff, because Mercedes and Tony were a team before, but then Tony was like, I don't like you. And didn't they lose like a triple threat? Like, yeah, Mercedes lost triple threat that Tony was into something. I don't know. So it wouldn't be Mercedes because they already teamed together. It didn't work. I don't know. Do they have anybody waiting in the wings? What's Vanessa Bourne doing? I mean, don't answer that. I know she's hanging out at home because she was called up to Raw a year ago and they didn't do anything with her. So, yeah. I don't know. There would be a great opportunity for them to like debut like the former Priscilla Kelly, whatever they're calling her now, to repackage her and have Tony be with her. She's definitely got the chops for it. Heel Tony Storm was a huge mistake, Evan Wright. I disagree. I don't. I mean, it's a huge mistake. I'm not willing to say it's a huge mistake yet. But certainly could turn out to be if they don't know what to do with her. But I think that she could definitely, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, NXT title open challenge, Kushida versus Oni Lorcan. When I heard that Kushida was having an open challenge for the Cruiserweight Championship, I thought, oh my God, there's so many people. Who could it be? My thing I've always said is Mustafa Ali should go back to NXT for the first time, or Ricochet should go back to NXT, or Humberto Carrillo should go back to NXT, or Drew Gulak should go to NXT, or Angel Garza should go to NXT. All of these little guys on the main roster that are being used as like bump machines and fodder for R-Truth. Get them the hell down to NXT and let them wrestle for the cruiserweight title. Especially Mustafa Ali, he never had a chance to win it. Like he had chances, and it felt like they were grooming him to actually do it. And then they were like, "Come on up to SmackDown, kid. We're gonna push you for 3 weeks." Yeah. Akira Tozawa could have shown up, possibly. But instead, they have Oni Lorcan, and I'm fine with Oni Lorcan. He had a run for a while where he was the top cruiserweight challenger. They screwed him over huge when Danny Burch got injured. Took the titles off of him without letting him even like team with Pete Dunne to defend them once. Just stripped the titles from him. He never even got like a angry scene with William Regal about why he's pissed about it. So they screwed over Oni. I'm glad he got a tag title shot, cruiserweight title shot. The big deal here is, as we talked about briefly, Kushida's wrestling in MMA gear, like trunks and taped feet, which was like a month ago. He was wrestling with like the boots and like the really cool tattered shorts, but he also was wrestling like in acid wash jeans and high tops. He's trying to figure out what his whole aesthetic is, and I get it. But he was slipping around the ring a lot, like his footing was not solid. I don't know what they're gonna do to help him not slip around on that canvas, but it was not looking good. Kushida wins, as he should. He works a lot on Lorcan's left elbow, and then puts him in the hoverboard lock, makes him tap out. That's the way they're supposed to do. And that's good. Kushida should win. I'm glad that he did. But imagine Murphy versus Kushida, says the Nerd Guru. Hose me down. Yes, hose all of us down. We all are in need of a hosing. Murphy, I think, though, would have to work a little bit to get back under the 205 limit. I don't think he was ever actually under the 205 limit. But he looked a lot closer to it before. They list Ricochet as 207. He ain't 207. So he could do that. And then if Garza is on NXT again, asks Wallace Kowalas, is he re-engaged? Don't get me started on that, man. I blew blood vessels on the Raw post show for NXT for Sour Graps. We watched him get engaged on the show. We watched him get engaged on NXT. He gets called up to Raw, and he's like, Charlie Caruso, would you like a rose? And I'm like, ah! There's no continuity between NXT and Raw. Why would there be any continuity from Raw back to NXT? That's what I ask you. Kushida versus the undefeated Mansoor. Listen, I don't see anything that special about Mansoor. He's getting better and better and better, and that's good. If he's undefeated, you got to pull the trigger on him at some point. Don't you? Yeah, they should have him do that, you know. Luis Polito says, give me Ray versus Kushida. Sure. Give us a lot of people versus Ray and Kushida. I mean, here's the other thing. It's kind of funny, but Papa Johnny, as Austin Theory calls Johnny Gargano, he's currently North American champion. He had a bit of a rivalry with Kushida. They had a great match at TakeOver. Johnny Gargano is definitely under the 205 limit. If he were to lose the NXT North American Championship, he could be a challenger to Kushida. I wouldn't mind seeing that one more time. Not several more times, one more time with Kushida as champion. Ciampa's under 205. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of people. So, Kushida is standing tall after the win. And then Santos comes out in his suit. And then Mendoza and Wilde attacking from behind. They double team him. Escobar joins in. And then MSK run out to make the save. Wes Lee lost his dang shoe. Threw a shoe. Literally threw his shoe. Who throws a shoe? Honestly. Yeah, I man. It's crazy. So we're getting, as they announced, Kushida and MSK versus Legado del Fantasma next week in a 6-man tag. I hope it's a tornado tag, because that would be badass. And as I said, MSK is now involved in something with Legado del Fantasma. But last week, Ciampa and Tommy and Timmy, Ciampa and Thatcher said, we're coming for you, MSK. Also, GYV, they're coming for you, MSK. Also, Imperium, they want the tag title back. So yeah, MSK's got a lot of potential challengers. I like that a lot. So Mercedes Martinez is backstage. She cuts a really fun promo, like looking at a camera down in front of her, and then one shooting her from the side is kind of a cool, like, back and forth. I like that promo. And she says, she basically says, Raquel, it looks like you're scared. So Dakota Kai decided to talk for you. She's the one who talked about me, not you. You didn't say anything. You could have said something about me, but you didn't. So how about this? How about I get rid of your little mouthpiece? I take her out, and then it's just you and me, mamita. So yeah, sure. Next week, Mercedes Martinez beats up Dakota Kai. And then a few weeks from now, we'll get Mercedes Martinez versus Raquel Gonzalez. Sure. I think eventually we're going to get a Dakota Kai turn. One of them's going to turn on the other one. I'm not sure which. I think Raquel works better as a heel because big baby faces, large boned baby faces, on the larger side, they get booked like crap because they have to do so much selling that they shouldn't have to do. You put them in needless handicap matches and stuff. Like, it doesn't work so well. I prefer Raquel to be the monster. And Dakota Kai, I think the problem is that she deserves a lot of comeuppance for a lot of stuff that she's done. And if she turns babyface, I think that they'll just let a lot of it slide. My thought is this. I think that if Dakota Kai has a match versus Raquel, she'll lose because they want to keep Raquel really strong. It would be really interesting to see if they turn Dakota babyface for her match versus Raquel, and that's when Tegan Nox comes back. And Tegan Nox doesn't care if you're a babyface or not, Dakota Kai. You ruined my life, so I'm going to take it out of your hide. And that could be a lot of fun where they're like, we just turned Dakota Kai babyface. Are we going to root against the woman that she put in the hospital and took a year of her career away for? I don't know. I'm not sure if we're going to do that or not. And that makes us think that. Yeah. Anyway, Everrise versus Imperium. This is only notable for the fact that we're getting the Killian Dane intrigue back. I like intrigue. Intrigue is good. I'm intrigued by intrigue. And what we have is Zeller Wolf at ringside. Yes, Patrick Mason makes a good point. It's actually Candice that most recently injured Tegan. So she'll go after her first. But we all know that Tegan Nox hates Dakota Kai the most. So Killian Dane out of nowhere comes down to like have words with Alexander Wolf, their former stablemates from Sanity. Remember Sanity? I do. That was sad what happened to Sanity. Anyway, that little thing that's going on between Dane and Wolf where they're arguing about whether or not Dane should come and join Imperium. And then Drake Maverick runs down and attacks Wolf. And Killian Dane's like, wait a minute, I was having a conversation. Go away. And then Drake won't back down. So eventually Killian Dane has to pick him up and carry him backstage while Drake is doing the, come on, let me at him. What are you doing? Come on, let me punch him. I want to punch him. I thought that was funny. Imperium wins, beats Everrise. Everrise is there to take pins. So Imperium wants their titles back. Also, there's a deal that's going on between Imperium and Killian Dane. This feels like it only ends with Killian Dane turning on Drake Maverick. I feel like that's the only satisfactory ending because I really want to see what Killian Dane is like in Imperium, and yet I don't. We're pro friendship here, especially those guys. As those guys are great. I like them a lot. They're really good. But yeah. It's a tough one. But I do appreciate the intrigue. I don't know where they're going to go with it. Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes is a good match, as it should be. And there's no intrigue at the end. Nobody comes in and attacks Kyle O'Reilly. Ted DiBiase doesn't show up and shove money in the mouth of Cameron Grimes. It's a good match. It's a fine match, and there's nothing to it. And these are the kinds of things that it's really hard for them to do as main events on NXT for me. You could definitely not get away with it when you were up against AEW. We'll see what their ratings are like for it. But I really thought they were going to do a big angle. The only angle they have is when Kyle O'Reilly's walking to the ring, the steps up to the ramp is Karrion Kross just standing there, is looking like he looks. And Scarlett's there, and they don't say anything, and neither does Kyle O'Reilly. Just stare at each other. So we're gonna get that eventually, and probably Kyle's gonna lose to Karrion Kross, and then I'm gonna be mad. Karrion Kross did the thing where he was like, "Hey, how this is how I." The headline was Karrion Kross explains how he melds supernatural and realism. I didn't read the article, but I retweeted the headline and said, "Is it poorly? Is that how he combines realism and the supernatural? Is it poorly?" The only reason I want Killian Dane in Imperium is because it's new and different. And they're not really doing anything with Killian Dane. He's just the big guy who's friends with Drake Maverick. But it'd be interesting to me to see something new. That's it. I like new things. Which is why I hate WWE Raw. I will talk more about that in a little bit. But right now I'm going to finish by saying Kyle O'Reilly versus Karrion Kross is a thing we're going to get. I don't know when. But Karrion Kross is the champion of the whole damn show. He's not really on the show. He's adjacent to the show tonight. He's just adjacent to the show. He's just there. He's there. He just stood there for like 12 seconds. He's your champion, and you're not doing anything with him. He just talked last week, and he's standing there next to his hot sorceress wife, and that's it. That's what you're doing with your champion. Just slow building that. Okay. Looks like the last super chat. The Nerd Guru says they've rebuilt the NXT tag division really well. There's a lot of options for them to go through, and that's really good. Seems like there's a lot more than they have on either of the main roster shows. So yes, I think that that NXT is in a good place right now. If they are in the same place as they are right now, 3 weeks from now, it will no longer be a good place. We have to progress where the place is. Okay? So that's what I'm going to say about that. This has been the NXT review on Fightful.com. Next up is the Raw Sour Graps review, which is going to be on Fightful Select in a few minutes. Fightful Select, where you can go for all of your amazing wrestling news and also fiery hot takes that spew out of this gob. I've been your host, Alex Pawlowski. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all the super chats. This is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you guys are too. We'll see where we're at next week. Everybody stay safe out there. Get vaccinated. And I'll see you either in a few minutes or next week. Bye.